couple seconds. I will wait. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rachel Gallo. I am a international admissions counselor from the Milwaukee School of Engineering. Tonight, I'll be presenting on STEM education in the USA. So thank you so much for joining. There will be some time at the end for questions and answers. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is different STEM majors, types of schools, the application process, tuition and scholarships, and then a little bit about my school, the Milwaukee School of Engineering. So different STEM majors. There is science, technology, engineering, and math. That kind of makes up the acronym STEM. So there's tons of different majors and programs you can study within the realm of STEM. I have some examples on the screen. My school specifically focuses on engineering, so we have tons of different engineering programs, but there's a lot more to STEM as well. Math, biology, chemistry, physics, IT, data science, things like that. So why should you get a STEM degree? What are the benefits? So a bachelor's degree within the STEM field is required for 73% of jobs. So when you get involved in the STEM field and you want to go out and get a job, they're going to look to see that you have a bachelor's. So it's really important that you get a bachelor's if you plan on pursuing a career within the field of STEM. There is a lot of projected growth within the STEM field. So it's projected to grow by 8% by 2029. And this is compared to 3.7%. So if you want to get into a field that there's going to be a lot of job opportunities, it's going to continually grow, STEM is a really good field to get into. And more specifically, computer occupations are even a better field to get into. This field is projected to grow 11.5% by 2029. So this is a really good field. If you know you want to go into STEM, you really like computers, you like science, definitely get into a computer occupation field. It's really projected to grow. So undergraduate versus graduate. You do need a high school education to start an undergraduate program. International students are required to study full-time, which is usually about 12 credits, and it takes about 4 years on average to graduate. For a graduate degree, you need a bachelor's. Full-time is usually about 9 credits. Again, as an international student, you do need to be full-time, and it takes about 2 years. So what can you do once you get your bachelor's degree? Well, you can either go on and continue in school and get a master's degree, or you can work in your field of study to gain experience in the real world, which is also related to an internship. So it's really important that during your undergraduate career, you work an internship or multiple internships. Companies are looking to hire those that have internship experience, which means that they have that real world experience. So whatever school you're looking at going to, make sure they have CPT available. At my school, international students are eligible to work internships and become CPT eligible after their first year of studies. Internships are also really important for networking. It's also a great time to do career development. So you experience the professional atmosphere. You experience what it would be like working that job in the real world. And you also get to get a taste for different jobs. So with your internship, you can try things out. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you do. You can kind of figure out what field you want to go into or what specific field you want to. It also gives you a competitive edge. So 72.2% of college graduates with internship experience got a job offer, in contrast with 36.5% who didn't complete an internship. So again, it really is going to give you that competitive edge to get a good job after graduating if you've worked an internship and got all this real world experience. So how can you find an internship? A lot of institutions in the US will help you find internships. So make sure you attend a career fair. Most colleges and universities will host a career fair on their campus. This is where companies are going to come and you can go around and talk to them all at once. Paid internships are pretty likely in the STEM field as compared to non-STEM field internships. Also, make sure the school you're looking at has a lot of company partnerships. So what companies are they partnering with? What companies are hiring their graduates? Do they have good relationships with those companies? That's going to be a key indicator that you can probably get an internship a little bit more easily with those companies. So research those institutions to see if they have those strong relationships. And then the size of the institution is also going to determine the competition you have for those internships. So if you attend a really large school, you're probably going to have a lot more competition for an internship rather than if you go to a small school. So different types of schools. We have small versus large. So this is going to really impact mainly class size. So if you're looking to go somewhere that has a big lecture hall kind of portrayed in the picture on the screen, that's probably going to be more common at large institutions. If you're looking for a more intimate experience with your professors with a smaller class size, likely you're going to find that at a smaller institution. Private versus public schools. So tuition is going to depend if you attend private or public. At the end, after scholarships and things of that nature, they can be around the same price, but the sticker price on these institutions will be different because public institutions are getting government funding. The sizes also differentiate. So private institutions often have a smaller size, and public institutions also usually have a larger size number of students attending. Religious affiliation. It is permitted at private institutions, although it's not required, and it's not permitted at public institutions. There is a wider variety of regional diversity within private institutions, meaning people are traveling a bit farther to go to private institutions, whereas public schools are going to have more students that are in the local area. Prestige. So there's typically a higher prestige associated with private institutions than public. However, that doesn't necessarily equate or correlate to the quality of education you're going to get. So you can get the same education at both a private and public institution. Oftentimes, there is a brand name recognition that is associated with private schools. And then degree offerings. So private institutions often have a more narrow range of majors and programs offered than compared to public schools. So if you know what program you're interested in, you might want to look at a school that specializes in that program. So I'll use my school, for example. We're really specialized in engineering. So we don't offer any, if you want to go to school to theater, we're probably not the school for you. But we are a really great school for engineering because we're really specialized in that. But if you don't know what you want to do quite yet, you might want to go to a school that has a larger pool of programs to pick from. And then urban versus rural. So, you can kind of think of the opportunities that are present, whether that's in a big city or more out in the countryside. And then think about climate too. You're probably pretty familiar with the climate within the U.S. So, along the northern border, that's where we are connected to Canada. So it's going to be pretty similar, especially in the Midwest. It's going to be a bit colder. That's where I'm located in Wisconsin. But lots of different regions within the U.S. with different climates. And then campus resources. So these resources listed are pretty much offered at every institution. So health and wellness resources, such as a community clinic, usually they have a nurse on campus. Support, so accommodations you might need for testing, advising and career services, counseling services. Those are always offered at universities and institutions in the United States. Academics, there's usually a tutoring program at each college and institution. And then financial resources, so financial aid, scholarships, things associated with that. So the on-campus housing requirement. So a lot of campuses in the U.S. will require incoming freshmen to live on campus for their first and second year. This can depend on the college that you go to, but that is often the general requirement that we see in a lot of colleges. And some on-campus options. So after your first year, you can apply to become a resident assistant. So overseeing those in the dormitory, you get free housing and meals. So this is a really great opportunity to consider if you do want to live on campus or continue living on campus. Be in charge of a few different students and be able to save on some money. On campus versus off campus. So when we're thinking about living on campus, all expenses are included into that one price. So it's Wi-Fi, utilities, meal plan, it's all going to be charged to you with your housing costs. This is I really encourage incoming freshmen to live in the residence halls. It's really going to promote social life. So you're going to get to know other students your age. And it's also going to be a shorter commute. So you're going to usually be located right on campus. When the time comes when you get the choice to move off campus, if you want more privacy, you want year-round housing options, this is a really good option to consider at that point in time. And then I'm going to talk about the application process. So we've talked about kind of the STEM field. We've talked about different types of schools, and now we're going to talk about what the application, what it takes to get into the schools looks like. So rolling admissions versus regular admission. This is something you want to think about. There is different types of admissions. So rolling admissions, which is what the Milwaukee School of Engineering is on, there's no deadline for when you have to apply by. You apply, you hear back within 1 to 2 weeks about your admission decision. So we will accept or deny students as we receive your applications. So this is a lot different than regular admissions. This is when there is a deadline for when you have to apply by. You apply, and then you usually wait until spring to hear an admission decision. So they'll hold applications until they make their decision, again, usually in spring. So this is something to be really aware of when you're applying to different colleges. If there is a deadline, make sure you're aware of that deadline so you don't miss it. So some traditional application requirements. Our application usually either has a fee or can be free. So it kind of depends. Usually the fee is around $15. It can go all the way up to $100. It really depends on what institution you're applying for. Test scores. Some schools are going to be test optional. Some will not. So this might be the SAT or the ACT. Essays may be required. Official transcripts will normally always be required. English proficiency, likely not from Canada. Copy of passport, financial guarantee, letters of recommendation. So any different combination of these elements can be required on an application. For graduates, usually the GRE and a personal statement as well. So some tips for applying. Make sure you read all the instructions carefully so that you understand the school or program you are applying to. Again, know your deadlines. If they are on a regular admissions process and they're not doing rolling admissions, make sure you know those deadlines. It's better to turn your documents in earlier rather than later, especially if you're missing something. Your admissions counselor can reach out to you and say, hey, I need this, and you have some grace time there to get it in. Make sure you request official transcripts or official exams from your high school or college that you're transferring from. We cannot use unofficial documents. And then provide all requested information and documents in a clear manner. So make sure you proofread. How to have a competitive advantage. So obviously, you're going to want to exceed the GPA requirement. That's going to be your first step to standing out and getting admitted. So really make sure you have a high GPA in your classes, a cumulative GPA, so overall. If you are are able to write an essay, make sure it's unique, make sure it showcases your community involvement, what you've done to make a difference. And then again, complete your application early. The earlier, the better, especially in case you're missing something, and we can help you out with that. So tuition and scholarships. Make sure you know your financial ability. So know the cost of tuition, living expenses, health insurance combined. This is really going to paint the whole picture for what your education is going to cost. We include health insurance in that just because it is often mandatory to get health insurance for international students. If the insurance you're under, say it's your parents that you're under, and it covers you in the United States, you can usually waive that fee. But make sure you're including all those expenses when you go to a visa appointment, although I don't think students coming from Canada need visas per se, but to get your I-20 issued, you have to show proof of tuition or expensive that you're able to fund it for 1 year. So a lot of institutions will ask you for a financial guarantee. That's what we call it. It's actually shown on the screen there. That's an example of ours. We ask students to fill that out just because that's information we need on your I-20. And we have to have proof that you can fund your education for at least the first year. So there's different types of aid. Often institutions will have scholarships available, whether that's merit, based on athletics, based on your involvement. But international students are not eligible for U.S. federal aid, so scholarships are going to be really important. Other aid you can look into, any government scholarship from your home country, from Canada, loans from any financial institution in Canada, or a sponsorship. A lot of students come to us through sponsorship, through a family member or a company. So again, cost of living, just kind of breaking that down. Health insurance is usually between $1,500 and $2,500. The monthly cost of living in the U.S. So if you live off campus in an apartment, obviously this can depend drastically on where you're staying in the U.S. So Milwaukee, where I'm from, is going to be very different than Los Angeles or Boston or big cities like that, even though we are a fairly big city. But it can range between $700 to $1,000 normally. That's really what we see in Milwaukee. If you go out to LA, places like that, it's going to be upwards of $2,000 or more. Transportation. So public transportation monthly is around $40 to $100. So I assume most of you are not bringing a car to the U.S. So if you need public transportation, that's something to kind of think about. Food. Are you going on the meal plan? Are you going to buy groceries for yourself? And then miscellaneous. If you want some extra pocket cash to go to concerts, do a little shopping, a great thing to do is to get a job on campus as a student employee or as a student worker. This is not going to cover your full tuition wherever you go, but it is a little bit of extra cash in your pocket. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Milwaukee School of Engineering super briefly, and then we will have time for a Q&A at the end. So just some quick facts. We are ranked 10th in the United States for engineering. So if you are interested in engineering, we are a really great school for it. Within our 10th rating, our individual engineering programs, some of them are ranked as well. So you can take a look at the list there. We have the second best actuarial science program in the U.S. We have an application-oriented curriculum. So I'm going to talk a lot about this later, but what this really means is a hands-on approach to learning. That is our main focus here. In 2021, we had a 90% pass rate for our NCLEX exam, which is for our nursing students. So not a lot of people know, but we do have a pretty large nursing program at MSOE. We also have a computer science program with AI and a supercomputer on campus. So this is really rare. Not a lot of schools have a supercomputer, but we do, and we allow our undergraduate students to use it. As mentioned, we're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so about 90 minutes north of Chicago. We have a population of about 1.6 million. We're located right on the shore of Lake Michigan, so it's a really great area. I love it here. It's a pretty big city, but it's also really scenic with the lake, lots of bike trails. So there's lots to do. There's just some pictures of Milwaukee. So a little bit about our school in general. We are a smaller school, so we're just under 3,000 students. We have 100 international students from over 30 different countries. So we do have some Canadians. Some are here for hockey. I had a Canadian come last spring for our nursing program. So we have students come from all over the world, which is really cool. We do have many international student or faculty as well. And then again, we are an institution focused on that hands-on learning. So that's kind of an overview of MSOE. So here are all our academic programs. Again, we're a smaller school. We offer a smaller range of programs, but they're really focused within engineering. And then we do kind of have a catch-all of math, business, and nursing. So within our construction field, we have architectural, civil, construction management. Within computer, which again, we have a large supercomputer that these students get to use. We have computer engineering, software engineering, computer science, and then user experience. Within our general engineering field, we have biomedical, biomolecular, electrical, industrial, and mechanical. And then kind of again in that catch-all, we have actuarial science, Bachelor of Business Administration. So we have a lot of different business degrees, such as finance, accounting, marketing, management, things like that. And then we have a nursing program. So we are a direct entry institution. This is another word you'll kind of hear when looking at different colleges. Direct entry, what that means is that if you are, for example, applying to our nursing program, when you are accepted to MSOE, you are also accepted to our nursing program right away. A lot of colleges in the U.S., you might go to school there for 2 years and then have to apply to their school of nursing. So that's kind of the difference between direct entry and non-direct entry. This is a great opportunity. You know you're in the program right away. But this also allows us to have you start nursing classes, for example, within your first semester. So if you come in as a nursing student, you are going to start nursing classes right away. This allows you to be able to work internships and go out on clinicals after your first year. This is the same with any program at MSOE. You come in for electrical engineering. You're going to start electrical engineering classes in your first semester. You'll have a really great base knowledge built up by the time you're in your second year, and you can work an internship then. Labs are pretty important at MSOE. You'll spend about 600 hours in labs throughout your 4 years of study. You will have a year-long class during your senior year called Senior Design Project. This is where you'll work with a company in the Milwaukee area on a research project with other students within your major. So this is a really great research opportunity to add to your resume as well as network with a company. We have super small class sizes, so normally about 20 to 25 students in the class. Our professors teach all the classes in all the labs, so we don't have any teaching assistants at all. And we have a 4-year graduation guarantee if you stay on track and pass your classes. So a little bit about cost information. So we are a private institution, so our sticker price is a little bit more expensive. Our tuition is $46,506. These are actually, we just got the new tuition information yesterday, so they're somewhat correct, a little outdated, but estimated living expenses, that's going to include meal plan and housing, and then health insurance. So the total is around $61,446. I believe it's closer to about $63,000 right now for the 2023 academic year. However, any accepted international student will receive $25,000 per year from MSOE. So you don't have to apply for this. This is just automatically put on your account. Obviously, you can go out and get other scholarships if you want. You can, do your own research. I highly encourage it. We also have some other resources on our website, but you will receive $25,000 per year. So this can still seem a little bit expensive, and it is. However, MSOE is always ranked number 1 or number 2 for return on investment. That means the money that students are putting into their education here at MSOE, they're getting a really good return on it. And that's kind of shown in our job placement rate and our average starting salary. Those were also just updated, so they've actually gone up. Our job placement rate right now for this past year was 99%, meaning that 99% of students were able to get a job right after graduation. So our students are getting really good jobs, and the average starting salary they were being offered was $71,000. So that actually just jumped up too. We just got those numbers today. So yes, our institution is a little bit more expensive, but you'll be making a lot of money when you leave, which is much higher than the national average. So again, $71,000 is our average starting salary, and that is across all majors. So you might be making a little bit more, depending what field you go into. So where do our graduates work? Google, Amazon, Tesla, those are some big ones. Tesla actually came to our last career fair this fall. So some pretty big names come to our career fair. We had over 350 employers. So you really have to try not to get a job. It's, all our students are doing internships and getting jobs, as you can see from our placement rate. But a lot of local Milwaukee companies as well. So Harley-Davidson, GE Healthcare, Johnson Controls, Foxconn are really hiring our students. And I know we're short on time, so I'll kind of zip through this last portion. Different living options. We do have an apartment-style building, but I really highly encourage incoming freshmen, like I said earlier, to live in the residence hall. So we do have a brand new residence hall, V Tower, which is a really great option. Here is a link to our application. It is a free application. I encourage you to apply. If I have any hockey people in the room, we do have a hockey team here, but we will really look for the 3.0 GPA cumulative. We don't require the ACT or SAT, and we won't require English proficiency from you. Oh, I forgot to change that, but that is our contact information. You can contact our assistant director. Her name's Lucia. She kind of handles incoming requests, and then she'll pass them off to us. So feel free to contact Lucia if you have any other questions about MSOE in general. Otherwise, again, that application is on there. So any questions at this time, you can feel free to throw them in the Q&A chat, and I'd be happy to answer them. I also threw my email in the chat, I'll throw it in the chat here. Just so you can email me if you have any questions. You are welcome. Thank you. Oh, that is the wrong email. My apologies.